This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another series of Behind the Mask. Today, I am joined by an incredibly strong lady in Sam Lee, MD of Temper Restaurants, the amazing Temper Restaurants. Check them out. I've had a couple of great experiences, and the events business, Hammond Cooper. So, Sam, how are you doing?
Really good, thanks. Really good. All things considered.
Well, that's it. I mean, in terms of all things considered, I'm going to jump into my first question, which is how the hell have you navigated through 2020? And other than the obvious, what's irritated you this year, Sam?
Well, I mean, if I take the first bit, how have we navigated? I think differently as the year has gone on. The first lockdown was long, and we didn't know how long it would be. So, dare I say, there was trepidation, stroke panic. It was making sure the business was viable, trying to make the best quality commercial decision while looking after the staff and the suppliers, which was really tricky because when you don't have an end date and not much information from the government in terms of where your sector sits, what possible outcomes there may be in terms of opening dates. I do believe I'm right in saying that when we eventually opened in early July, we were given 4 days notice. And for hospitality, that's just not enough. You can spend 2 days just prepping to open. So it was troublesome, to say the least, but much relief when we did open. And I think the first lockdown taught us all the things we knew, really, that we could be a little bit more efficient. We could probably operate with a little bit less labour. We needed to be more creative and not so complacent. So I think we learned some hard lessons from there, and we try not to reflect on that as to maybe where we'd not been so efficient prior to COVID. And I guess we added an extra line to our P&L in that we basically save for the next lockdown, is the truth. We make sure we've got provisions for that because I'm very conscious that my team have been on and off furlough, and we all live to our means, don't we? And to suddenly find yourself with 80%, 70%, 60% of your salary and nowhere to go and work, it's not been great for them. So we've tried to make sure we look after them, and not just financially, making sure that they've had some, dare I say, creature comfort. So I've emailed them every single day. So we started this silly thing, which is, today's National Cupcake Day, and today, just so they kind of knew that I wasn't not thinking about them, because 4 months is a long time. And we bought them all Netflix so that they could sit and, do their day drinking and watch films that they haven't seen for a long time. So, we tried to balance it out. But the truth is, it was horrible. The first lockdown was really horrible. It was a worrying time for everybody. And the main concern from the team was, do I still have a job? And it's very difficult to not be honest and say, well, I just don't know, but you can't say to people, yes, definitely, when you don't know that's the answer. And I think that's been the most difficult thing. But now we have got into a routine of understanding, how our business can run slightly differently, where the efficiencies come from. I think there is a lot more assurance about where we are. So this last lockdown, and dare I say, there's going to be one in January by the sounds of it, I am thankfully able to say to the team, okay, back on furlough, I'm afraid, and I'm sorry about that, but we're not talking redundancies this time. We're not, we're talking about when we reopen, what your role will be, which restaurant you need to go to, etc. So I guess adaptability, definitely learned that, and just that balance really of what's important for your team, because while yes, we need a viable business, it's also important that you've got a team that really want to be there.
Definitely, I think picking up on the Netflix, that's a really kind touch and a really positive touch, and the fact that you've looked out for your teams doesn't surprise me. But at the same time, it is good to know that those behaviours sort of stand, and you keep an eye out for each other as well. So yeah, it's certainly something that I've reflected on personally, and it's quite key to getting through the final road bumps. Let's say, let's hope on this journey. Did I just say that? No, I can't take it back. I've said it. Okay, cool. So anything that's irritated you?
I think really, like most people, it's just been a real lack of communication from the government, and I feel that we as an industry have, there's been self-appointed spokespeople on our behalf, and they've had to go and find the information and push for support. And I do feel very grateful that some people would disagree with this, but I think hospitality has had some support, just not enough support. I can't imagine what it must be like to run a theatre or be an actor, or because it seems that the support has been disproportionate to some ends, and I find that quite frustrating. We all pay our taxes in the same way, dare I say. I think there's just a real lack of communication and direction from the government. I think our Prime Minister has been absent to some extent, and the conflicting information. You've got Chris Whitty, who, bless him, would probably take 2 umbrellas out on a sunny day just in case, and you've got Rashi on the other hand saying, eat out to help out, and then the next month that doesn't quite sit with the medical advice, so it's okay, drink up by 10 and get out. So just the real inconsistency. It's really hard to trade under those circumstances. So I guess that has been my biggest frustration, the inconsistency of it all, and the lack of information.
Yeah, very difficult to operate under unclear conditions,
Yes.
as well as learning to open and close, which I think certainly your businesses as well as others have probably got down to a relative T at the moment. So that brings me on to in regards to those decisions and Christmas, I've got to ask, what are your thoughts personally, professionally?
So I mean, Christmas has been diluted, dare I say, for the restaurant. We opened on the 3rd, and really, really blessed that we had a great start, much better than our forecasts were. I think there was a real want for people to come back and have some semblance of normality. They wanted to go shopping and eat in a restaurant, and unfortunately they had to do it with their own families who they've been locked in their own houses with. But and again, the ambiguity around what is a business meeting, how many people, then I don't ever think that's really been clarified properly. But we had a good start, so that was good. But again, just this immediate lockdown brought about a little bit more uncertainty. So for the business, Christmas just about gave us what we needed it to give us before the lockdown, so we're okay. Christmas personally, it's great. I can ring my sister and say she's not allowed round.
Every cloud.
Every cloud. Yeah.
Every cloud. Funny.
And I've said that to her face, so it's fine.
Yeah. No, I have a couple of an incredible banter, and absolutely, why not? 2021.
Yes.
While no one can give anything other than a guess, I guess. What's your take on recovery once we start? How do you see that, Sam?
I think given that we sort of almost heading for the 4th lockdown now after this one, because I'm sure there'll be a stronger one to come, I think that something I really take comfort from is the fact that there is a want for people, as I've said, to come back and dine in restaurants. And the first time we came back, one of our nervousnesses was how nervous is the consumer? Who will we see coming back, if anybody, to the restaurant? Will people be confident to come back? And I think as we've moved through the latter part of the year, that confidence has grown with our customers. And we've spent a horrible amount of money on being COVID safe, and quite rightly, but it just means that we the frustration there is it's not been appreciated by the government that we are one of the safest sectors to be in. But I think because that's very visual, customers can see the screens and the sanitizing and the person that's just there to clean and not wait. I think that gives confidence, and that's great for us, because at least when we're forecasting, we know that there will be a consumer return. I guess the biggest question is, when will that happen for the city? The message, I understand very much, is still work from home if you can, and a lot of the companies in the city are looking to extend that. So that's going to be a tricky one to navigate. But I think that when we are allowed to open, especially with my events business, I think people will want to come back. They will want assurances, of course, but I think people will want to come back, and it's our responsibility to make sure they do that safely, because dare I say, there is definitely a few different mindsets about this whole situation. This weekend alone, people do not travel. The roads are absolutely packed. The trains are absolutely packed. There'll be people that really stick to the rules like glue. And I'm one of those, because I just think you can't complain about your sector and then breach the rules in your domestic life. It's hypocritical. Right. And then they're the people that will just think, sod it, I am going to go where I want at Christmas and spend Christmas with who I want, and I'm not going to be told otherwise. And unfortunately, that sort of behaviour will delay a recovery. But I think recovery will be delayed. I think we were looking at April for events. I probably would say a little bit later into the summer. But I do have faith that the government will take steps to get us back next year, because at some point there has to be a change in approach. It can't continue to erode the economy the way it is.
Well, no, I mean the hospitality industry and events contributing to the economy is massive. I think I have to agree with you. Yeah, I think there's a lot of reassurance that customer demand, as you say, Sam, is higher than it's ever been, which is great long term. It doesn't help the short term. Sure. Then none of us can disguise that fact. But then talking of mindsets that you mentioned. It is really important to stay in that positive mindset wherever possible, or to be forgiving of oneself when it's it isn't such a positive day. But what are your thoughts in regards to the mainstream news and the media, Sam? Is it helpful? Is it unhelpful? What are your thoughts in managing the media and personally?
I think it depends which TV channel you choose to watch. I mean, some of them scare you to death, and some of them just deal with the facts and there's no emotion, etc. But I don't know who said it in the beginning, but this "we're all in it together." I don't think that it's felt like that. I think some of the media do try and purposefully trip politicians up and try and have them answer, force them into answering questions that they can't answer, because I'm sure if we had the answers to COVID, we wouldn't be withholding them. I think then you've got the Piers Morgans of this world that are very forceful, dare I say, and perhaps don't always let people finish, so we never know what some of the journalists would have said or the politicians would have said. But I think if you are a balanced person yourself, you're able to dissect what is and isn't an acceptable way to go about being a journalist. I just think there's a lot of anger towards the government. There's a lot of rhetoric, and that's come across on some channels. I tend to read the factual stuff and not really listen to the mass debates where it's just on opinion, because the fact is it hasn't gone away. The strain's got worse, and it's I haven't really got involved in reading any of that, to be honest. I've stopped watching Newsnight. It's just people arguing about what they don't understand or what none of us understand.
Yeah, completely agree. We must have that conversation with your friends and family, rather than listening to other people. I have a relatively strong view on the media, and I think that my take, for what it's worth, is sort of trying to avoid it like the plague. You've mentioned the Piers word, and I've got some of my opinions on that, and never letting people finish, I think, is probably fair to say. And actually the sort of the helpful side of what the media can stand for is often shadowed by other agendas. But yeah, in terms of mindfulness and the positive mindset, mental health coming through this, it's a personal choice as to what you see, what you absorb, and how you deal with the information coming through, because we do need to know stuff.
Yeah, and I think, dare I say, Mr. Johnson is not the best orator, so I can understand where some of the questions from the media come from and the frustration. So it's probably been 6 to 1 and half a dozen of the other. But I just think with something as serious as this pandemic, everybody has a responsibility to act in a responsible way and in the best interest of a recovery, and perhaps, just as you said, put aside their personal agendas. So asking the government at this stage what they would have done differently and should they have done a better job, there's just no point. Those questions need to come after, because at the end of the day we're still in the thick of it, and nobody knows about this virus. We've never had it before, and Boris Johnson isn't a scientist, so I'm not a particular fan of his, but I think that it's like asking me to stand up in there and talk about it. I would be tongue-tied. I wouldn't have a clue what I was saying, because we just don't know. So I just think we've got to follow the science, as they keep saying, and hope that it turns a curve. But I think journalists need to be factual.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, certainly listening to advice of people like Professor Trump is probably not advisable. Anyway, on that note, Sam, just wanted to say, look, thank you so much for taking part in the Behind the Mask series. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. When we do hit 21 and we are able to, I look forward to seeing you in one of your restaurants. And in the meantime, under the circumstance, I hope you have a fantastic Christmas, and see you on the other side.
Likewise, and to you. All right, thank you. Take care, Nick.